Boys and girls, we come to the final one in our series of the story of Esther. And just remind you, you can read this story in the Bible, the book of Esther. It takes you a while, but you can read a wee bit every day and read about this exciting story. And so, boys and girls, this plot by this wicked man Haman to have Mordecai and all the Jews put to death has failed. A message is sent out now from the king that indeed the Jews are to defend themselves, and the Jews there was great celebration when they heard the decree from the king that they could be rescued. And so the day came, Father, the day came when the battle would happen, and the enemies of the Jews wanted to attack them, but the Jews, they fought and they had a great victory, and the king's officials and other people helped the Jews because God had caused them to do this. And so Esther then comes before the king and says to the king, listen, the battle's not over yet. Could you allow that the Jews have another day to defeat their enemies in the city of Susa? And so the king grants that. And so the battle continues another day, and then the battle is completed. And boys and girls, just reminds us that Jesus on the cross has won the battle for his people. He has defeated the devil at the cross. The devil, you see, boys and girls, can only hold us if we're away from God, and we're away from God because of our sin. But through dying on the cross, he brings us back to God by dealing with our sin, and the devil loses his grip. And so Jesus has the victory over the devil through his death on the cross. After Mordecai and the Jews had won, there was a great victory parade there would have been. They were celebrating that indeed the enemy were defeated. And boys and girls, we'll always have enemies. Jesus has said that there will be those who will hate us and attack us because of him. We need to be ready for that. But with Jesus, we will have the victory. And so a decree is made by Esther, and Mordecai goes out that indeed that all the Jews are to celebrate. It's to call this the Feast of Purim, a time of eating, a time of remembering the victory, a time when people would give gifts to others, because they remember how God has delivered them in such a wonderful way. And when we know God has delivered us from our sin, boys and girls, it should cause us to celebrate and to show acts of kindness to others. And boys and girls, you remember about the book of Esther. Remember one of the amazing things about this book? God's name is never mentioned. And yet God is at work throughout all of this. Do you remember? God was in control so that Esther was crowned to be queen. God was at work so that Mordecai overheard the plot to kill the king and told the king, and the king was rescued. God was with Esther when she went before the king, and so that indeed that he would intervene so that indeed the Jews would be rescued. God was at work when Mordecai was honoured and brought to a position of great power in the land. And God was at work when Haman and his wicked ways were revealed. We have a great God, and he's not mentioned in this book, but he's always at work. And boys and girls, we maybe don't see so much of what God is doing, but God is always working. And this is the important thing, boys and girls. He is working for his people. The building of his church, he's always working for that. And so when we don't see him, God's at work. And boys and girls, God's great plan in this world is that he will have a people who will be saved, a people who will be brought to heaven one day. There's a lovely psalm in the Bible and speaks about travelling to Jerusalem, and we're travelling to New Jerusalem. And the lovely psalm tells us that he who watches over Israel, he who watches over his people, will neither slumber nor sleep. He protects them as we journey towards heaven. He's the great God who will be with us in the good days and in the difficult days. But boys and girls, we have to come and trust in him. Trust in Jesus. So we'll know we're on the road to heaven and we're protected by the King of Kings. God bless.